your friend on YouTube and SoundCloud, episode 19. Welcome.
Hey Podsters, what's up?
How you guys been? Hope you had a good weekend.
Yeah, I hope everyone had a good weekend, a good week at that.
And a good coming week.
Yeah.
Since we're 2 days ahead.
Yeah.
Tuesday is supposed to be the day you post your podcasts for some reason.
Yeah, that seems to be... I don't know what it is about Tuesdays. Like everything that's new should come out on a Tuesday. That they do that with books. They do it with movies, even music. Music, there's a different system that they have, I think. But mainly Tuesdays is the new release day.
Well, like they say, if you're not first, you're last. So we're ahead of the game 2 days.
That's right.
Woo!
Yeah. Like last weekend, I have to say that we spent our day bluebonnet hunting.
Yes, that was fun.
That was a lot of fun. We visited a few farming towns around Texas, small farming towns at that.
If even towns anymore.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of crazy. It's almost like a different world out there, because we went to Kingsbury. I don't know if anybody's ever heard of Kingsbury, Texas, but you wouldn't really miss it, I don't think, because
it's really off the beaten track to begin with.
Yeah, it's a quaint little town, I guess, but we happened to come across this little, it looked like a little ghost town from,
yeah,
I would say like the 1920s, 1930s or something. And it looked like maybe somebody was running a store out of one of them. And then at the far end, there was a bar there, apparently, and it was open. And you thought it was like abandoned and closed down, but they still had their open sign.
Pictures of the abandoned bar, but it was open, and apparently it also doubles as a strip club from a reliable source.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Yes.
Wow.
Neither did I, because it doesn't say. But
that's kind of creepy.
Rumor from somebody living very close to Kingsbury told me that. Oh, that's the strip club.
Ew! That's really scary.
Yep, frightened. Well, scary, but country fried steak and eggs in the morning, and a bit of punani at night
with a Lone Star,
right?
And then I don't know. That place is just really creepy. And then they had couches outside of the little buildings, and there were empty bottles and beer cans.
Yeah, out of the closed, dilapidated
antique store or something. I don't know what it was. But yeah.
That was the party couch.
Yeah. I was like, people come out here to party. Is that where they get their lap dances?
Who knows? That's probably where it is.
Wow.
Well, couch dance?
Hey, man, we just created a tourism kind of attraction for that city.
Well, I think it's kind of cool though to see those. It's sad in a way to see these small communities haven't had to close shop. No pun intended. But just like one of the episodes we had Ulla and Melis on. Mm-hmm. It's very much, it's cool to see in the sense that is, I would say, almost the European perspective of American small town. Like you see it in movies and stuff. These,
exactly. Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I recall, Ulla and Mela saying that, it looks like, you're on a movie set.
Yeah. So it's cool to see, but at the same time, it kind of breaks my heart to know that Walmart and McDonald's shut it all down.
Yeah, all these chains shut down the mom and pop stores.
Yeah.
That's really sad. And they thrived for so long. And, all those big box stores and stuff just killed it. Just like the internet killed video stores.
Yep. But I think with that, it's a little bit of difference because the internet offers more for people that live in these small communities that I don't even think had a real video store.
True.
Unfortunately, there, I think it's a matter of supply and demand. I mean, even when I lived in Southern California and Blockbuster was still thriving, there were times you'd go there and it didn't have the latest releases. Whereas the streaming services would have them.
Yeah. That's crazy. Anyhow, so Fiesta's going on in San Antonio right now. I believe this past weekend or this weekend was they had the oyster bake at St. Mary's University. And I believe there's an event called Night in Old New Orleans, and that's supposed to be really cool. I really wanted to go to that maybe next year.
We just have to book it in advance. Well, yesterday was the stupid weather.
Yeah, we've just been having some crazy weather. I mean, it's Texas. And forgive me if I sound kind of funky. I've got the freaking allergies. The freaking allergies.
They're bad this year. I usually don't really feel them, and I don't think I'm sick today. I think it's allergies.
Yeah, it's the pollen is so bad out here. There's vehicles that have a yellow tinge to them because they're covered in pollen.
Yeah, it's bad this year.
Yeah,
but
it is.
We're going to suffer through for you guys.
And that's what I'm calling bullshit on this week is freaking Texas allergens. Bullshit. A lot of people say that, if the people that move to Texas, they're like, oh, I've never had allergies. I don't know what you guys are talking about. I don't know why you guys are always coughing and sneezing and stuff. And after a while, they learn that they soon become allergic to pollen. Or whatever's blowing around out there. But the thing is it wouldn't necessarily harm or affect a healthy human per se. But when you're overexposed to such a large amount of pollen, I think it's going to affect you regardless.
I don't know. It's a mystery to me, and I think I have to do some research on it because other places in the world have floral fauna with overexposure to things. I mean, you'd think that there would be overexposure to things. Mm-hmm. I've never lived in a place or heard of a place where allergies and pollen allergens are so high as they are in Texas.
Yeah.
I know that people that aren't from Sweden can get really allergic to birch, which is one of the trees there, and there's plenty of them. But you never hear Swedes being like, oh man, it's birch season, I'm so sick. Or in California, there's a lot of pine. And they have other floral fauna as well. People there aren't generally allergic. Mm-hmm. But then, like you say, in Texas, it's bad. I've never been allergic anywhere else. And this year, it's bad.
Yeah, I just think it's, a combination
of all of them meeting or something.
Yeah, I mean, because there's so many different kinds of allergens out here. You've got like cedar and oak and pecan and what else is really high? The molds get pretty high here. And
maybe it's got to do with the humidity. I don't know.
The dust. Yeah, it's just insane. I mean, if you don't ever want to have to deal with allergies, don't move to Texas. That's all I have to say.
I agree.
Yeah, but on that note, I was thinking the other day, wisdom, where does it come from, or how is it bestowed upon you? Because
I think first up there, you have to define what you mean with wisdom.
Well, maybe I should just say that, I feel at my age now, if I knew what I know now, back when I was like 21, I think I'd be really well off. But unfortunately, I don't. And the thing is like, is that just how, is it a matter of how your brain progresses? Let's just say, I knew people when I was, in my mid-20s, and they were like in their 40s and whatnot, and they were cool to hang around and stuff, but it was just like, oh great. They just became a bore to me because they kept thinking. You know what I mean? They would have these thoughts and I don't know, just like philosophical things and back, or just talking about the stuff that we talk about now. You know what I mean? I found that to be dull and boring, and I would just kind of like lose track of the conversation and maybe walk away.
Well, because it's not fun
and now
at that
that
age.
I'm at that age, I feel like I finally understand what they're talking about. You know what I mean? I understand why they have these questions or why they think a certain way.
Well, I think a lot of that has to do with experience. I think there's stages in life. Really, if you look at it at a child level, there's very distinct, stages of being a child.
Right.
And I think that is something that, even though it's not really talked about, it's like that even when you grow older. Because you develop, your brain develops, and you gain different sort of experiences.
Yeah, you learn by experience.
Yeah, and I definitely think that it's not necessarily by mistake, but by experience.
Yeah.
And I think that there's a time, like in your 20s, it's a time to party and want to be around a lot of people and stuff. Mm-hmm. But just like with everything, it's a phase, and once you've done it, you come to a point where you're done. If that makes sense.
Yeah, I get that.
And I think that it's just a matter of exposure to things, doing them.
Right. So you gain wisdom by experience.
If you want to call it wisdom.
Or
yes.
Knowledge.
Knowledge, and also you go through, I think, different mindsets.
Yeah. That's a good way of putting it.
I don't think of it the way that, if I knew then what I know now, I would have been rich or whatever. Because I think that someone in their 20s thinking the way we do would be the most boring 20-year-old ever. But I mean, I'm definitely, some people would call it matured. I would call it evolved.
Yeah.
But I think it's the stage, that 20-year-old stage, so to speak, which is, rock and roll all day and party all night.
Right.
Is necessary. It's something everybody goes through.
And I suggest everybody go through that.
Yeah,
stage.
I mean, you see, because here's the thing. I think it's like a part of evolution of who you are. People who don't do it in their 20s tend to do it whenever they get a chance later on. They become those, like, annoying 30-something-year-olds
right,
instead.
Yeah.
But I think it's a phase that everybody has to go through. It's part of gaining your life experience. But then I think your mindset does shift. It's how we've been talking about. I'm super happy having been able to do what I have done in my life. But it's just a matter of today I can't do it. There's other priorities. And life is different at age 20 versus age 40 plus. And it's nothing bad. Yeah, I think it's just, it's part of life. You can afford to take more risks if you so want when you're 20, because normally you
haven't established anything really.
No, you
as
really
far as
have
your
nothing
life
to
goes.
lose.
Yeah.
And I mean, I hate in a sense when people talk finances, because things sounds, they were so cheap back then, but you also made a heck of a lot less money. But I mean, at 20, I was making probably, honestly, not much. Maybe $1,000 a month.
I wish I even made that much at 20.
Yeah, well, I was lucky, I guess. But really, $1,000 a month isn't all that much. But the only expenses I had was a $200 apartment. There was no loans, no mortgages, no nothing. Which means that you could afford to spend money on drinking, buying stuff you don't really need.
Right.
And at 40 plus, you tend to have some sort of loans. You have other responsibilities. We don't have children, but we do have dogs that we take care of.
Right.
So, I mean, that alone is like you have to go home at a certain point. They have to be fed. They have to be walked. There's a lot of things that's different. So I think that it's sort of the cycle of life. The older you get, if you want to call it wisdom, yeah, you gain
mature, or I think your brain just matures a little bit more.
Yeah, and I think the older you get, the more, especially if you talk really old, like I'm talking 70 plus. Mm-hmm. That's another stage I seen with a lot of people, both with my parents and my grandparents. Then they really get to the phase because they're so secure in who they are. They really know who they are themselves.
Oh, yes.
That they really don't give a shit about other people, in the sense that they're not concerned about, looking like crap going to the store, or
they just don't care what other people think.
No, they have their opinions and they don't shove them down other people's throats, but at the same time, they're not interested in trying to change it.
I think more confident.
Yeah, in a sense.
And know who they are. Yeah. And if, somebody gets on your nerves or whatever, they're just going to be like, I don't have time to deal with you.
Right. Because
I'm trying to live my life.
Yeah. and that's another stage even in life. And I've seen it a lot where it goes from people who tended to be like a little bit, at least my grandma, for instance, she tended to be a little bit concerned about, the neighbors or this and that. She hit 70 and it was all just to hell with them. I don't care what they say. So I think it's part of, brain maturity or life development, call it what you want. I don't know if it's all wise, but I think the older you get, the more certain about really truly who you are, you get yourself.
Yeah.
And with that comes, like I said, a security in, I don't need the world's approval.
Right, yeah.
And in a sense,
I want to be there, like, mentally right now, but be my age.
Yeah. But I think that would be kind of skipping ahead of that brain maturity curve.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be fun either way.
Oh, yeah.
The whole maturing process, I guess.
Well, I think we're pretty certain of who we are as people.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, I think so.
I mean, I really don't. Honestly, you said today, people were looking in the store. Because I'm pretty much the only rocker in this little town.
Yeah.
But I don't even care. I mean, I don't even see people looking at me because really, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I'm me, and I'm not going to wear, neon colored t-shirts and stuff just because that's what trend dictates.
Right.
I'm me. I'm cool with it. If you're not cool with it, walk away.
Right, exactly.
And I think the older at least I get, the less people I have a need to have around, if that makes sense.
Yeah, that definitely makes sense.
Which is kind of trippy for being, a big city rat versus a country mouse, but I'm so ready to just move out to the country.
Yeah, I mean, that whole road trip that we took on last week Saturday. No, it was last week Sunday.
Yeah.
That was kind of nice, looking at all those farms out there, those ranches, all the rolling hills and the cows and whatnot. It was just so pretty and serene. Yeah. That's what I liked about it. And you know what? We thought, hey, that would be great to buy some land out here and just build a nice house and just not have any neighbors and become hermits. No.
Well, in a sense, yes. But I mean, and I think that's so telling of that what we were talking about. You brought up the brain maturity. Because, I mean, me being from a big city, always having lived in big cities, hustle and bustle, there's always people around. Even though I've never felt the need of being friends with all of them or count, you know, if I have a million friends, I'm great. If I don't, not. I've never cared about that, but I've always had people very close upon me, so to speak. And I would never, speaking of how you were saying, in my 20s, I would never have thought that I would say that, I think my dream when I turn 50 would be to have 2 acres of land and not a person in sight.
Right.
But I'm there. It's like, that would be awesome.
Yeah. And that takes me it takes me back to thinking about my parents when I was younger, and we would go on our little, road trips and stuff. My dad loved to do little day trips out to different cities in Texas. And, they always talked about, I just want to have some land out in the country in the middle of nowhere, no neighbors and stuff. And I used to think, that's so boring.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
and it's like, y'all are just old, and to think, where we lived at the time I thought it was a small town that had nothing to offer anyone. And they were thinking, it's growing. It's a big town. It's getting bigger, and I feel like I'm at the point where they were back when they used to say that.
Yeah, and it's funny
that
because
makes any sense.
Like was said, I'm from a big city, and that had plenty of offer, and I took the opportunity to embrace what it offered. And my mom and my uncle, they were all on this big trip about maybe an hour out. See, it's a little bit different because Europe isn't as spread out. Even big cities, they're built on height, not so much square footage or whatever, like area-wise. So if you live in a big city in Europe and you go an hour outside of them, you're in the middle of nowhere, if that makes sense. There's not a lot of sprawling suburbs and this and that.
Well, that's kind of how it is around here, though, a little bit.
Yeah, it's a little bit like that here, but we're so small to begin with as a town. But I'm, from a big city, everything, for me at that time, I mean, it had everything to offer. Why would you ever want to leave that? And my mom and my uncle, they found this place in the middle of nowhere, and it was a greenhouse where they grew cucumbers and tomatoes, and like as wholesale distributors, not for people to come in and do their own pick.
Right.
And that became their dream. They never did purchase it, but they were close to like purchase that place and move out there.
That would be cool.
Yeah, now I think the same thing. That would be super cool. But back then, I thought they were, I mean, they might as well have been aliens talking about stuff like that. When you live in the place that has everything to offer for a younger person, of course. But with that perspective, I thought they were nuts. It was the dumbest thing I had ever heard. I since we're bringing it up
they
now,
were insane.
Yeah, I thought they were complete. I mean, they should have been locked in a mental institution.
They've lost their marbles.
Yeah, lock them up and throw away the key. It was the dumbest thing I'd ever heard. But today, being the age they were then, that's kind of how I feel too. Let's find a greenhouse and move there and just grow tomatoes and sell them to the big grocery store.
And sit on our porch and drink lemonade.
Yeah, totally. So yeah, it's funny how we as people and our brains do evolve. And I think there's a pattern to it because as we can see now, it's a repeating pattern.
It is. It's quite scary. I feel like I'm becoming more like my parents more and more every day. And that really terrifies me.
I'd be cool with if I turn out like my parents.
I want to be like your parents.
Right?
They're so cool.
They're crazy.
I love them.
But I love them. So yeah, brains probably do evolve. And I think there's a pattern to it. I start seeing it. And like I said, it's kind of... I'm surprised that there isn't more... I'm sure there's a book somewhere. Maybe one of you guys listening can recommend it to us. But
right.
I mean, it's not as commonly talked about as it is for kids, you know, from you being a toddler up to this age and the, what's it called, the terrible twos and the horrible fives and da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. And then,
but I think it's an ongoing process. It don't matter if it's, you know, in your 20s, your 30s, your 40s. I think there's some sort of repeating brain pattern for people.
Yeah, I can see that. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Interesting.
It is. It just made me ponder.
And now we shared our ponderings. So let us know, guys. What do you think?
Yeah. You know, I haven't checked to see if we had any new followers on SoundCloud. Neither
have I, but if we do, welcome.
Yeah,
hope
welcome.
You guys enjoy.
Yeah, hope you guys enjoyed our podcast so far. I highly recommend going back and reviewing our old stuff if you haven't heard it, because it's pretty good. I think, not to be biased.
Right.
And I'd like to thank everybody out there that has been listening to us.
Yes, a huge thanks. Thanks for your support.
Exactly. And we're going to continue to do this regardless of what people think.
Yep, because we know what we think.
Yeah, and we're here to stir shit up.
For sure. If you want to, you can also join us on Facebook.
Yes,
where
Facebook.
We can comment and yibbity yap about what's been said in previous episodes. Yeah. Or if you have suggestions for something to bring up in a new episode.
Yeah, exactly. Or if you want us to do a shout out to your friends that listen to us, you know, recommend us to your friends and stuff like that.
Yes.
So, you know,
we need Podster Nation to grow.
Yes, exactly. Podster Nation. I love it. Podster Nation. That sounds like
Hitlerjugend.
Oh my god. No, it almost sounds like a medical term, Podsternation.
Right? Podsternation? I'm suffering from a bit of podsternation. Can you please help?
You have to sit and listen to the podcast.
Right?
Okay, guys.
So, for our musical friends this week, we need to address this whole made in America. Instruments made in America.
Why is that?
Because, per usual, we don't have to... if you want to hear about the decline and downfall of Gibson guitar manufacturers, feel free to listen to previous podcasts. But what's sad is that more and more of that stuff is coming to surface.
Really?
Yeah, in terms of... If you want to sell something, you have to have some sort of quality to it.
Right.
And it certainly does not just apply to American instrument manufacturers. I think it goes for American companies in general.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I remember we discussed that the other day.
But, I mean, for an example, we're going to throw together a little kit guitar made in the USA. The pickups were two different sized pickups. The routes to place the pickups in the body weren't even big enough to accommodate the mini humbucker pickups, the smallest pickups.
Uh-huh.
The holes routed for wiring wasn't big enough to get the wiring through.
Okay.
So, I mean, it was really either it was somebody who didn't use her brains doing the thing, or it was a bad
batch.
Well, maybe not even a bad batch. Maybe it was a bad, just one bad body.
Uh-huh.
But come on, you can't let that slip through your quality control. America used to be a place where people, not only in the US, loved to buy American-made products for the quality of them. And, you know, even back then, I don't even think China made really products to make it outside of China, but Japan was the big, like, rip-off country.
Mm-hmm.
And they made stuff like this, and it was, laughed about the stupid Japanese and the crappy quality. Why have America taken 5 steps back to become this? I don't know what it is. You guys don't
it's
care.
all about it's quantity over quality at this point.
But it's like it's infuriating as a customer, and it must be annoying as a company too to get a bunch of go backs. Where it's like, look, I'll send your piece of shit back, and you give me my money back, and end of story. It's ridiculous that it works that way. And you have other companies here too, which I think is even worse. And I'm not going to mention the name right now, but I really wish, though, that I'm going to contact them this week.
Mm-hmm.
And I really wish they have the balls to go on this podcast, because they're a fairly local company that supposedly sell you as a consumer. And like I said, today I won't mention their name, but just saying, be aware if you're in the market of buying a custom-made guitar for a lot of money. There's actually a local company that claim that they do everything themselves here. But
they don't?
I happened to stumble upon this Chinese company.
Uh-huh.
And they used to make fake Gibsons. So they used to rip off Gibson. They basically sold copies of Gibsons. And then they shaped up and realized that we don't have to make copies of Gibsons. We can keep the body and brand it our own name.
Yeah, give it a different brand.
Yeah. These guys manufacture all of the bodies that this American company claim that they are doing locally in Texas.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's like,
that's not cool.
That's not cool, guys.
No, not at all.
Feel free to use imported material. I do every day. I do something.
Right.
And it's also been, like I said, not as a joke. I can't say that my cabinets and stuff, they're not made entirely in the US, because components come from elsewhere. You can say that it's handcrafted, which it would be in Texas. But when you guys claim that it's all made in the US and you get all your stuff from China,
yeah, that's
you're being kind of nasty to the consumer, and especially when you charge people over $1,500 per instrument.
Yeah.
I get that you assemble it and paint it here, but it's not cool, guys.
Yeah.
And like I said, I'm going to try and reach out to them this week and see if we can get a response to the podcast.
That would be cool if we got a response.
Chances are we won't. And like I said, for right now, I won't mention their name, but stuff like that needs to stop in the US.
Yeah, that would be nice, but I don't think that's going to happen.
Well, I'm not saying that to stop getting stuff made elsewhere and assembled here, but I'm saying that then be upfront about it.
True.
There's nothing wrong with it, but when you try to portray something as one thing and sell it for a whole lot of money, it would be fairer to sell it for a little bit less and to be honest about where things come from.
Yeah.
That was my musical rant for the day.
Yay!
Till next time, guys, we're going to try and pop ourselves full of allergy medicine.
Exactly.
And
yeah, that sounds really nice right now.
We hope that you guys have a great week. See ya next Sunday. Ahead of the game. 2 days.
Bye, guys.
Bye.